Sup? Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Nick. I'm here with my friend Sean.
Oh.
So today we're going to be talking about how to take your demo to a stream-ready song. So Sean and I have been playing music together for about 6 years now. We played a lot of acoustic music, we played a lot of jazz, and at some point we thought, man, we need to get into the computer music scene in that we need to be able to record and do all this other cool stuff. So throughout the years we learned about DAWs, we learned how to produce music, how to mix music, how to use sample instruments, how to master music, etc. And then finally we thought to start this service that we called Terranaut Recording. Keep in mind, all these steps will work if you're going to be producing the music on your own. We're going to go through our process because this is how it works for us, but all of these steps can be applied if you are working on your own.
We also forgot to mention that there's a checklist down in the description, so if you want, click on the link below. Basically, it's all the steps that we're going over today, so that way you can have it for reference whenever you're going through this with your own process, or if you're going through us.
Yeah, so we figured that it was especially important, especially now, given that social interaction is limited, if not happening at all, and the ability to play music in person isn't really an opportunity that a lot of musicians have right now.
But if you're watching this from the future, then you probably don't know what we're talking about, but we are currently going through the COVID pandemic. Although I don't know what future looks like, so maybe this is permanent. Anyway, on a brighter note,
if you're watching this 40 years from now, maybe it changed.
So basically, our service, Terranaut Recordings, is kind of like an all-in-one music production package. We essentially take your demo songs and we build them into a nice and fully produced song, and we take care of the production, the tracking, the mixing, and the mastering. One thing unique about us is that we don't really use too many sample instruments because we play instruments ourselves. We both have degrees in jazz studies. We're about to finish our master's degree at NYU in jazz studies this May 2021. Yay. But we've been playing acoustic instruments for years, so we have the proficiency in those things. Sean and I both play a little bit of acoustic drums, and behind us we have this drum set over here. I play electric guitar and acoustic guitar. Sean plays upright bass and electric bass, and we both have some kind of piano proficiency. So what's unique about us is that the drums you're getting are not sample drums. They're not like a sample library. They're actually like us multi-miking our drums in my small Brooklyn room. And then we also work on mixing and mastering. I handle all the mixing work, and Sean handles all the mastering work. And we also don't keep any of the rights to the songs. When you go through us, you're keeping 100% of the rights to the songs. We started this as frustrated artists who were frustrated at the music industry, and we're like, let's be a positive force in this and try not to mess up people in the music industry. We're artists ourselves, so we're trying to be as artist friendly as possible. So today we're going to be talking about some of the ways that we've gotten the best results, and we're going to basically walk you through the process of getting your demo all the way up to streaming ready, from the tracking of it, the production of it, the mixing and the mastering and the distribution and all that stuff. And real quick, we want to go through kind of like a little gear list that you would need, and we're going to try to stick to some kind of small budget. So we're going to give you really low priced options and kind of let you explore the options on your own. So the things you'll need are a microphone, something like an Audio-Technica AT2020 or an SM57, which are both around $100, would work really well. SM58 as well. Then some kind of interface. The Focusrite interfaces are really inexpensive and do a great job. A guitar or MIDI keyboard, but if you're a songwriter, you probably already have one of these things. A MIDI keyboard is great because they're really affordable and you can get a lot of cool sounds, and they're really portable too. A pop filter, which looks like this. And a DAW, which stands for Digital Audio Workstation, which is essentially something that you can record music in. So something like Audacity or GarageBand are free options. Some of the more expensive options are like Ableton or Pro Tools or Logic, stuff like that. And finally, you'll need a song. Is that condescending?
But if you're a songwriter, you probably already have a song.
Okay, cool. So now we're going to talk about the two ways that we've worked with songwriters in order to produce their songs. Method one is sending us a track, and then we would then layer over on top of it and create a new song altogether. If you look at our portfolio on our website, down in the description, something like Ianto Jones' Emptiness I Lay Beside is an additive approach we took, where we took his demo recording, which sounded great, and we started adding on other instruments to that.
We met when we were 17. Now youth's bright dream is gone. We met when we were 17. Now youth's bright dream is gone.
We also find that's the easiest way to keep the integrity and original vibe of the song and not steer it too far into one direction that the artist perhaps might not want.
So then essentially for that process, you'd obviously have to practice a song. This works great with songs that you've maybe performed live before, or that you've worked on a lot. Essentially with this approach, you're aiming to get a really organic performance of the song, just an augmentation of what it was. So then after you've written the song, the next step would be to write out lyrics or a chord sheet, which essentially gives us an indicator of what we're working with, and it kind of gives us an idea of what you're hearing for the song. So kind of the natural flow of the song and the overall architecture of the song, so we can conform to that and we can build upon that. So then you're going to want to record the song with guitar or piano or whatever you're comfortable with and send us a demo. If you can record to a metronome, that would be perfect. And if you're not sure exactly how to get like a good tempo, there's a really great app on the phone called Pro Metronome, and essentially it's a free metronome that will tell you different tempos. And there's a cool tap tempo function, so you can just tap the beat, 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. And it'll give you a numeric value that you can then plug into the click tracker metronome of the DAW and record to that. If you don't want to record to it, that's fine. Just make sure that the time is good, so that way when we record drums, it can be a really safe and sound performance. Safe and sound? Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, that works. Another thing we think is helpful to keep in mind is to send separate stems of each instrument. So like say like if you're starting off with vocals and guitar, to send the separate stems of the vocals and then separate stems of the guitar, because it gives us a more accurate representation. It gives us an accurate mix in the end, really, because we're able to fine tune each of those elements instead of trying to fine tune a complete stereo track of the demo.
It also gives us a lot more control during the mix. For example, if I really want to compress the shit out of the vocals, then I can do that without affecting the guitar and vice versa. So if you have the option to record the guitar and vocals separately, if not, that works too. Although in that approach, you're going to get a more reverential version of the song rather than like something that we can manipulate a lot. So just that's something to keep in mind. So then once you have the song recorded and you're satisfied with the performance and all that, you would then send it to us and then kind of give us like some kind of description of what instruments you might want to hear. Like, do you want electric guitar? Do you want acoustic guitar? Or maybe piano instead of guitar, piano and guitar, upright bass or electric bass, drum machine, drum set, etc. Stuff like that. And then also a list of references. What are the songs you like? What do you want to sound like? So that way we can get an idea of how to build it up. If you're working by yourself, this is also a great thing to do, to compile a reference list of what you want to sound like. It's kind of like when people do like a little vision board, but it's like a vision board of sounds that you want to achieve.
I think the references are super helpful because they give us kind of like a guide to go off of, just so we're still staying true to what the artist sees as a vision for their song, but we're able to just contribute to that instead of totally running away with it.
So then after that, we would layer on the essentials. So usually drums come first and then bass and then guitar or piano, some kind of chordal thing, but basically just kind of creating a backbone structure for it. You can start adding on different ambient textures. Like I have like a little ocarina that I put into a sampler that sounds kind of cool, but if I put that first, then that kind of is like a weak backbone to the song, and that's not really something to base it off. In our experience, it's better to lay like a nice foundation and like a nice bed of rhythmic and harmonic activity, and then to start putting the cool stuff on top afterwards and start putting different processes and effects after that. So then in our process, basically we would send it back to you and make sure that the bedrock is solid before we start adding on some other stuff. And then at that point, you might want to re-record vocals to kind of accommodate, because sometimes the changes can be drastically different. Sometimes they can be pretty reverential, but other times they can be like totally different and the vocal might need a different approach. So then after all is said and done and we've added all the little tricks and colors, then we would send it back to you and ask, is this ready to be mixed? Do you have any recommendations? Is there anything else? And if the song sounds good at that point, then the production stop is over. Then we're going to set into the mixing and mastering section. So I have a video on what is mixing and mastering, so you might want to check out that video if you're unfamiliar with the mixing and mastering process. But essentially, it's basically the sweetening up of the audio and making sure that all the audio elements work well with each other and are like in harmony with each other. And so it doesn't sound like... And then once the mixing and mastering phase is over, it's then ready to be distributed. But before we go on to distribution, we're going to talk about the second method, which is where we kind of create the bedrock first. So for the second approach, it's going to start off the same way in that you're going to send us a demo of a song, but instead of layering on top of that, we're going to create something new from it. So if you look at our portfolio down on our website, if you look at Nigel Watt's Deja Vu and listen to the two versions, they're really different.
Today is the day I always knew would be. Today is the day I always knew would be.
And that's because we basically created a new track based on his. So in the track that he sent us, it was just acoustic guitar and vocals. And basically what I did at that point was kind of map out the form. I wrote out like a little lead sheet kind of thing and like a little like chart. So in that instance, he didn't send us a chart or a lead sheet, so we handled that on our own. But in general, it's good if you have some kind of plan. If you're doing this on your own, definitely make some kind of plan because it'll make your life so much easier. Even if it's like some vague scribble, like kind of like John Coltrane's Love Supreme chart, where it's just like kind of like verbal notes, you know, stuff like that goes a long way. And then I recorded drums first, and then we recorded bass, and then electric guitar, and we created a nice like bedrock, so you had all of the instruments and you had all the essential elements of the song. Then we sent it back to Nigel, which then he re-recorded vocals, and then after that I started adding on like other guitars. We added a clarinet quartet, and Sean added some synths to that. Again, an indication of tempo is really key for this, so that way we know kind of what vibe you want and we can kind of capture the energy, because depending on the tempo of the song, the emotional
Gravitas.
So depending on the tempo of the song, the emotional gravitas heavily affected. Then we send it off to mix and master, and then after that it's ready for distribution. So on our side of things, we don't really handle the distribution of the music because that's not something we focus in, and we don't want to offer like a not so great service. But we both have released music on our own and used a few distribution sites.
So Bandcamp is great, probably my favorite distribution site because it's totally free. It seems to be one of the few platforms that puts the artist first.
So the great thing also about Bandcamp is that they only take away 10% of your proceeds, you keep 90%. Compared to like Spotify, which I think gives you like 0.0004 cents per stream or something like that, you get a lot bigger of a payout. And Bandcamp also allows you to have more control over your music. So one feature is you can limit the amount of streams. You can have Bandcamp say, okay, you streamed this 3 times, maybe it's time to buy it. You could also set your own prices to sell the music. You could sell merch on there as well. And you can even do something like name your price. Sean did that and actually raised some money for a good cause with his recent EP, 4 Scenes.
So yeah, I donated half of the proceeds for that EP to a mutual aid that's here in Bushwick called Ayuda Mutua.
And yeah, Bandcamp is a really wholesome platform. Now, if you want to get it on all the other streaming platforms, like for example Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, stuff like that, Google Play, or even on YouTube as like an artist or whatever the little thing is called, then you might want to go through a distribution site because you can directly upload to the streaming services, but it's going to take you forever to get to all of them. One that we really like and we use is called Amuse. We like it because it's free, and you also keep all the streaming royalties, but essentially it just kind of ships off all your stuff. Another good one is DistroKid, which is $20 a year, and you get unlimited uploads through that. Another one is CD Baby. But basically all of these are just distribution sites to get your songs out to the streaming platforms and start seeing some revenue. Now the revenue might take some time to see, but that's how you can get your music out on the streaming platforms. So that's the process on how you can take your demo into a stream ready song. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing more, check out our website in the description. We have some before and after stuff. We have some like about us kind of things and pricing and all that stuff. So check that out. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so I can continue making these videos. It really helps. And say goodbye to Sean.
Bye, Internet.
Oh wait, you do it. That was sad.
Wait, let's try it again. Take 2.